Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kwame. I just want us to quickly talk about the International Student Cap. So moving forward from next year, they are basically thinking of putting a cap on the number of international students that can come and study in Australia. Yes, we'll go and watch that video very shortly, but I just want to say something little in regards to this. So why is Australia basically thinking of putting a cap on international students? All this relates to the housing crisis we basically facing in Australia right now. So as you guys can see behind me, so Australia is basically building a lot of houses to help solve these housing crisis we're basically facing in Australia right now. So the reason why they're also introducing this cap is to basically bring down the numbers of international students back down to pre-COVID levels. And also, as the minister said, they also want to do this so more international students can also target going to the regional areas as compared to going to the big 8 universities we have in Australia. But what I do feel is a lot of jobs are going to be impacted, and a lot of the private universities and colleges are also going to take a huge hit. Let's quickly watch the video and do the digest later after watching the video. Let's watch the video that is published by Channel 9 News.
International education is a national asset. It makes us money and it makes us friends. You might have heard me mention before that when students come to Australia and they study, they fall in love with Australia, and when they go home, they take that love and affection for Australia back home with them. You can't put a price tag on that. We need to protect international education from the shonks and the crooks who try and exploit it, and we need to protect community support for it. International education was hit really hard by the pandemic. It's basically cut in half. Students were told to go home, and they did. Now students are back. There's about 10% more international students in our universities today than before the pandemic, and about 50% more in our private vocational and training providers. Students are back, but so are the shonks, people that are seeking to exploit this industry to make a quick buck. And we're implementing a number of reforms to tackle that, including most recently the shutting down of more than 150 dormant or ghost colleges, places that aren't really operating to provide an education for international students, but are really a backdoor just for people to work here. Ministerial Direction 107 has also been put in place. It's important to point this out. It's not a free-for-all at the moment. It's having an impact. Ministerial Direction 107 is having an impact on the number of international students coming to Australia right now. In effect, it's acting as a de facto limit setter. But it's a pretty blunt instrument. It's meant that a few universities have got a lot more international students this year than they did last year. And a lot of universities have got a lot less. That's why a number of universities over the last few months have come to me and asked me to put in place a different system, a better system, a fairer system. And that's what the bill before the Parliament at the moment does. Today I can announce that, subject to the bill passing, the overall number of international students starting a course next year will be set at 270,000. This includes higher education courses and vocational education and training courses. And what this means is next year that there'll be about the same number of international students starting a course here as there were before the pandemic.
Okay guys, so the video goes on and he goes on to break the 270,000 cap they are going to put on international students starting from next year. Okay, so it goes on and he breaks the numbers down and he allocates the numbers to the higher education sector, the private sector, and also the vet sector. There's an article that I read that breaks things down vividly. I'm going to leave the link to the video from Channel 9 News, okay, and also an article from bbc.com. So when we come here, it states that Australia introduces cap on international students. So they've done all the maths here, and I'm also going to take my time and break the numbers down for you guys. So basically, I got the numbers I'm going to share with you guys, I basically got from the BBC article, because when I read it, everything here made sense. So let me quickly share my other screen and let's do this deep dive. So the government's aim, okay, so why are they putting a cap on international students starting from next year? And this is what I basically got from what Honorable Jason Clare stated. So the whole aim in regards to why they are doing this is to improve the quality and the sustainability of the education sector whilst addressing migration and housing pressures. So as you guys know, Australia is going through housing crisis, and they are blaming this on the amount of immigrants we currently have. So basically, we have more immigrants as compared to the number of houses we have here in Australia. So that's one. And also there are a lot of people that are exploiting the educational system, and they are basically doing this to stop all the exploitation of the system. And also some of the universities here basically have more international students as compared to other universities. So they are basically doing this and bringing the cap system to have a fair system. The universities in Australia, so both the public, private and the vet sectors, and they are also focusing on moving more international students to the regional areas. Let's look at the stats. So from 2025, they are going to put a cap on international student enrollment in Australia. So when we break this down, so he went on to say that the public universities in Australia, okay, are going to be allocated 145,000 international students. So all the public universities here in Australia will be able to only enroll 145,000 international students. And with this 145,000 too, they've also broken this down and they've given an allocation to all the universities here in Australia. With the 145,000, I think they are allocated more to the universities in the regional areas as compared to what we call the big eight, okay, universities here in Australia. When we come to the private sector or the non-university providers too, they've allocated 30,000 international students to them for the year 2025. So with this 30,000 is going to bring like a huge impact in the private sector. I know a lot of people are going to lose their job once this comes into effect. And with the VEC sector too, they've been allocated 95,000 international students. So the group of eight, okay, so when we say the group of eight, all the universities you can see here, they are also going to be impacted a little bit. Okay, so the allocation is going to be a bit less. They are going to have like a bit less students as compared to the regional areas. So the big eight is also going to have a huge cut in regards to the number of international students they'll be able to enroll next year. The big winner here is regional universities. Okay, so all the universities in the regional areas are going to be allocated like huge numbers, and this is going to increase the number of international students they can basically enroll starting from next year. So the regional areas are basically the winners here. Now, Australian private universities and colleges are going to take a big hit because 30,000 honestly is not enough for them to sustain their business. I can see a lot of these colleges closing down, or most of the lecturers and or most of the staff members in these colleges losing their jobs if this is to come into effect. So another thing to look at is, so currently, okay, as of 2024, we have 717,500 international students currently studying here in Australia. And as Honorable Jason Clare also stated, after COVID, when we look at the higher education sector in our universities, they've seen a 10% increase in international students that are coming into Australia. And when we come to the vet sector, this has increased by 50%. So they are also trying to bring these numbers down to pre-COVID numbers. And that's why they have the cap of 270,000 international students that are allowed to come into Australia. So with this international student cap, it's not final yet. This still needs to go through Parliament, okay, before it can become final. But if this is to come into effect, this is going to impact the Australian economy. So as you guys know, the international student market is the fourth largest market that contributes to the Australian economy. So for the year 2022 to 2023, Australia basically made $36.4 billion from international students. Now, if they are going to cut the numbers, they are going to put a cap on the number of international students that can come in to 270,000. This means the potential economic loss from the proposed cut is going to be $4.1 billion. So Australia is basically looking at losing $4.1 billion in the year 2025 if this cut is implemented. And this also means that if this is to come into effect, we are looking at 22,000 people losing their jobs in the year 2025. But the question is, which farmer will kill the hen that lays the golden egg? The question is in your hands, guys. Let me know what you guys think about this cap on international students in the comment section below. My name is Kwame. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.